We're now live streaming on YouTube, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Before we start the meeting proper and before we move into quiet reflection, I'd like to ask members please to take a minute's silence to pay our respects to Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who sadly passed away recently. So if we could do that now, please. Thank you. Thank you. We now have pause for a quiet reflection. We gather together here today intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all, to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Thank you. Welcome to the meeting of Tavistock Town Council. We are already on live streamed. I'm Councillor Anne Johnson, Mayor of Tavistock Town Council, and I will now ask members present to indicate by physical show of hands that they can hear proceedings. Thank you. Town Clerk, do we have anybody who's joining by audio link today?
We don't as yet, no, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Can we please now take a roll call of councillors present? Mrs Smallacombe, can you take the roll call, please?
Yes, of course. The Mayor, Councillor Mrs Johnson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Andy Hutton.
Present.
Councillor Mr Crawford.
Present.
Councillor Ellis.
Present.
I don't believe we have Councillor Mrs Ewings yet, nor Councillor Fay. Councillor Alan Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Mrs Mann.
Present.
Councillor Moody, I don't believe is here yet. Councillor Mrs Parker. No.
Oh, I thought she was. I'll check in a second.
Councillor Parker.
Present.
Councillor Barry Smith.
Present.
Councillor Harry Smith.
Present.
I don't believe we have Councillor Squire yet. Councillor Alec Venning. Councillor Paul Ward.
Present.
And Councillor Williamson.
Present.
And I can see Councillor Mrs Ewings has just joined us.
Councillor Mrs Parker's having trouble with internet connection, but he's trying like crazy to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the connection this afternoon is probably not as good as it has been at times. Thank you, Mrs Smallacombe. Councillors and officers are asked to ensure that they have included their name against their thumbnail video so they can be clearly identified by viewers. I think everybody's got that. May I take this opportunity to remind councillors that, subject to certain conditions, standing orders provide for speaking once on each item on the agenda. Members who wish to speak are asked to please raise your hand. If that doesn't work, please send a message either to the Town Clerk or to Mrs Smallacombe. The quorum for council is 6, where we have many more than that here, so we're okay for that. May I remind councillors and the public that the documents for this meeting are available on the council website. Please note that members are asked not to use the share documents facility in this meeting. In addition, may I remind you all to stay muted until called to speak and to remute once you have spoken. When I call you to speak, I will state your name. In the interest of transparency, try not to use the comments facility to communicate during the meeting other than with myself in the open forum. In no circumstances should it be used for private discussions. Voting will either be by assent of the members or by roll call vote. For a roll call, members are asked to state either for, against, or abstain when asked. If a councillor declares an interest, they will be temporarily removed from the meeting until the matter has been resolved and then readmitted. When the public part of the meeting concludes, there will be a brief adjournment of 10 minutes to enable councillors to log back in for the confidential part of proceedings. Thank you. So we'll now move to the commencement of...
Councillor Ewings has been asking to speak for a couple of minutes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Ewing.
You're on mute, Councillor Ewings.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutton. I'm not sure if Councillor Squire has apologised, but he's been busy delivering leaflets up around here because I've just seen him. And I just said there is a council meeting at 5, so I'm not sure if he's going to join us or not.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to you and to Councillor Mrs Parker. It's good to see you both here.
Yes, the internet problems here, they've been on and off for days.
Yeah, my reception's been poor this afternoon, so fingers crossed. Item 1, apologies to receive any apologies for absence. Town Clerk?
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. To receive disclosures of unregistered other interests from councillors on matters to be considered at the meeting. The disclosure shall include the nature of the interest. If a member becomes aware during the course of a meeting of an interest that has not been disclosed under this item, they must immediately disclose it. Under the Code of Conduct, councillors with an interest, whether or not it is a disclosable pecuniary interest or other interest, must leave the room for the duration of consideration of the item to which the interest relates. Thank you. Item 3, minutes of council meeting. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of Tavistock Town Council held on Tuesday the 9th of March, which have been circulated to members.
Move the minutes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Williamson, thank you. Anybody have any comments they wish to make on them? Councillor Mrs Mann.
Sorry, I just wanted to note that the property Kingdon House was named in that minutes, and actually the building has been renamed to the Printworks, and I wondered if we should correct that in the minutes so that it's reflected correctly.
The name of the charity, Councillor Mrs Mann, is still Kingdom House Community Association. So as a trustee there, we do refer to either.
Okay.
You're quite correct, the building is the Printworks, but I'm afraid it's going to take a long time before people move over to calling it. But the charity is still known as Kingdom House.
Perhaps it would just be helpful. I've seen on social media recently that there's been some confusion about the two, and perhaps if we put both names in places where we refer to them, might start to get picked up a bit more.
Okay, thank you. It's a good point. Right, any other comments, please? Fred, you're going to have to bear with me because I'm on 2 screens on my laptop, so I'm going to have to go from one screen to the next. Right, we've had a proposer and a seconder. Can I have a show of hands, please, to see those in favour of those minutes? You okay with that, Town Clerk? Yeah. I think that's
Yes, Madam Mayor, that appears to be carried.
Thank you very much. Any matters arising apart from, we've noted the one about Kingdom House and the Printworks? No
None
matters
showing.
arising? No. Okay, thank you. Right, we move on then to item 4, public representations and questions. To receive any written representations or previously submitted questions from members of the public in attendance. There have been none as far as I'm aware. Town Clerk, you able to confirm that?
That is correct.
Thank you very much. Items requiring a decision. 5, general finance. We have a schedule of payments. Apologies for the paper copies that went out. I'm not quite sure what happened there. As we know, they should be on the Town Council website, which I guess they probably are, but it was an oversight, which I hope won't happen again. Thank you. I don't think there have been any questions submitted about the payments, Town Clerk.
No, we've
No.
received none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on that now? Right, thank you. Then we move on to budget monitoring report. To consider and endorse the budget monitoring report to the 28th of February. I understand that Mr. Kemp is coming next week to complete the year end close down, or is it the end of this week possibly? And hopefully the next report that we receive will show the year end position, which of course will have more meaning than the one as at the 28th of February. Any comments or questions on the budget monitoring report? Can we note that, please? Thank you. I think that's noted. Development Management and Licensing Committee to receive and consider the minutes of the meeting of the DMNL committee held on the 30th of March. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise virtually to present the minutes of the Development Management and Licensing Committee minutes of the 30th of March, taking them by rote. 281, apologies for absence. 282, confirmation of minutes. 283, declarations of interest. 284, Dartmoor National Park Authority A, Dartmoor local plan examination. 285, town planning issues. A temporary closure of footpath number 3 adjacent to New Launceston Road. 286, general correspondence. 287, urgent business brought forward at the discretion of the chairman. 288A, planning decisions. And 288B, new planning applications. There is only one recommendation today, Madam Mayor. It is recommended that the views of the Town Council, as listed in Appendix B, be passed to the local planning authority for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation, please? Councillor Parker. Out to debate. Anybody have any comments or questions they wish to raise? Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to Dartmoor National Park Authority, yet again, I owe the committee an apology. I did promise to have some further notes ready for the next meeting. I got held up on other issues. I will do those notes, so short notes, as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. That's appreciated.
Can I just also, may I just also comment, Madam Mayor, that there's another couple of applicants, applications here, Glanville Road, and then a couple on the appendices, where yet again the Town Council has protested that the applications in World Heritage Sites, conservation areas and listed buildings are still not being required to provide heritage statements. Historic England has commented on an application recently in Lamerton to the effect that in the absence of a heritage statement, the local authority should be unable to carry out its statutory duty. I'm writing personally to the local authority of West Edinburgh Council. I say personally, I mean as a member of the World Heritage Partnership. And I will copy the the email to members of the DM and L committee, but there should be absolutely no doubt that all applications should have, in conservation, World Heritage and listed buildings, should have heritage statements. It's there in the local plan, it's there in the validation requirements, and it's there in the NPPF, and in Historic England are now reinforcing the point. So I just thought I'd let you know, A, that the local authority is still doing it, and B, that I'm taking that up as your representative on the World Heritage Partnership.
Right, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions about these minutes? They've been proposed and seconded, so can we have a vote, please? Those in favour, please show.
That's carried.
That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ward. We move on to item 7 now, which is the calendar of meetings. To consider in principle and indicative programme of meetings for the civic year 21-22 and related matters potentially appertaining to the future of the local authorities (coronavirus) flexibility of local authority police and crime panel meetings. There are a couple of options here in the recommendations. I'll open it up for debate, I think. Anybody wish to speak to this? Councillor Harry Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a strange one because although it is strange in the way that the case being considered by Dame Sharp and Justice Chamberlain is an interesting one, in that the claim is that virtual meetings are actual meetings, and are so because they could not have been envisaged in the preparation of the 1972 Act, which is a strange one. And it's a very expensive way to settle something that the government does not disagree with. However, although the High Court case is important, it does not affect the recommendations which are before us, unless a judgment has been issued since I last checked at 4 p.m. today. What we've been asked is twofold. Firstly, the start times of physical meetings when they're possible. My view, and welcome views of others, is that 6:30 for 6:45 worked well before the pandemic. I don't see why they shouldn't work that well afterwards. On the second point, my view is that the annual meeting should take place remotely on the 4th of May. We've had an experience of a council meeting, which, by the way, only had one item on the agenda, being held in the town hall in early COVID-safe environment. I believe that it just about worked, and the only successful outcome, in my view, was that we agreed to a system of governance which has proved over time to have worked really, really well. And it's managed to keep this council functioning. And I would therefore propose the endorsement in principle of Appendix 1A. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anybody else wish to comment on this? Councillor Crawford, please, then Councillor Mrs. Ewings.
I don't particularly have any thoughts on this, but I think it should be affected by the people that are working. There are people that work who sit on the council, and it's going to depend on their sort of timetable, isn't it? And when they can get to a meeting physically, I would suggest. But also the other aspect is that our officers are also required to work late. If they start at 6:30 to 6:45, that they may choose to, I don't know. But I think those are all points that need to be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Ewings and Councillor Ellis, please.
I'd like to support Councillor Smith in his views, particularly about bringing the annual meeting 2 weeks forward, because then we can hold it remotely, whereas, you know, we'd have to wait until June to be able to hopefully be able to mingle more. So it sounds much better if we actually just hold it on Zoom like we've done. I can understand the ceremonial aspect of that night would be lost, and there is that side of it to look at. So it's a bit of a mixed one. Part of me would naturally say to support Councillor Smith, but now having sort of thinking about it out loud talking, there is a ceremonial aspect, and you know, that is always nice to be able to do that side of it as well. And I'm assuming, which Town Clerk would probably be able to answer, is that if we had it as our normal ceremonial side, we wouldn't be able to have a glass of wine or anything to eat, because we'd still have to be not indoors with each other and things like that. Is that correct, Mr. Town Clerk?
If I may, Madam Mayor, that's quite correct. You also wouldn't be able to have things like the
Town Clerk,
ceremony
please.
handing over of the chain or any of those activities. People would have to be separated and segregated throughout the process. So even the normal kind of ceremonial formalities wouldn't be able to take place in the normal way.
So, Mr. Town Clerk, would we then be able to move actually the handing over of the chain, the physical chain, to a meeting in June when we're allowed to, after June the 21st, I think it is. But actually we would have already, I don't know how we could do it, because, you know, we do need to recognise that the Mayor has done the role for 2 years, and that it would be good that she can experience the handing over to whoever is elected the Mayor, and that side of it. I do understand that. And for Anne, I know it means a lot to her personally. But it does leave us, I think, as Councillor Smith or maybe Councillor Crawford said, with a bit of a conundrum.
Thank you.
And I would go back to the meeting times. I'm a worker.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis next, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm more than happy to be corrected, but as far as I'm aware, I'm the only full-time worker with 2 young children. I have adapted to a 1700 start, and I prefer a 1700 start. It means I get to potentially put my children to bed. It means I get to spend some part of the evening with my wife. The latest start, I was rushing home from work, rushing through the shower to get changed, not seeing my children and not eating sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night, which the knock-on effect means I wasn't then being able to go to bed to sleep till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, ready to get up at 0600 to go to work. So there's that tiring factor, and I can take it on the chin that I'm a councillor, and that's something that I've got to accept. But with the 1700 start, it means I have a much more pleasant evening. There's no rushing around. And there's the added bonus that our officers as well aren't working late. And I honestly believe that with a 1700 meeting in person, the meetings may not go on as long as they do. So I would like to remain at 1700. And with the other matter of virtual meetings, I think we're fast running out of excuses to meet virtually. There's plenty of that were shielding that are getting out and about, delivering leaflets, going to restaurants and eating and drinking in pub gardens. So I don't see an issue with socially distanced meetings in person. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Town Clerk, did you want to come in now or before?
I'll come in a little bit later, I think, if I may, Madam Mayor, because there's just a couple of points I'd like to pick up on, but it'll probably be informed by where the debate goes next, if that's okay.
Okay, Councillor Graham Parker, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, on the question of timing, I'm perfectly happy with either start time. When I was elected, I knew that the start time was going to be after 6 o'clock, but I've also adapted very nicely to the 5 o'clock start. I take Councillor Ellis's point, and particularly the point about its impact on our officers. So if the members were of a mind to remain at 5 o'clock, then I would happily vote for that. As to the issue of meetings, yeah, I've been one of those that's been shielding. I am now, I won't say getting out and about, because I'm still being very, very careful. I wear masks and I stay 2 meters away from people as far as I possibly can. I have to say I'd be very uncomfortable meeting in the council chamber, and I'm probably going to feel uncomfortable about that for a little while, but I have no problem with that meeting physically, provided the rule of masks and 2 meters social distancing are applied. Yep, so that's my thinking on that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Councillor Mrs. Mann, please, then Councillor Ward.
Yeah, I also am working full time now and have 2 young children, so I'm going to join James in that category. And for me, the 5 o'clock start would be almost impossible, just because my work doesn't end until 5. So to get to the council offices in person, as opposed to a virtual meeting, which I could probably make, would be quite difficult, actually. However, I don't mind if we could split the difference in order to sort of alleviate that time. It's just awkward because of the dinner period, isn't it? So I don't know what the solution is there. And as far as the meeting in person or virtually, I don't have a particular preference for that. So I would go with whatever suits the rest of the council. But yeah, at 5 o'clock is probably going to be too difficult for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Mann. Councillor Ward next, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to say I've also adapted to 5 o'clock start, but I fully take Councillor Mann's point that it's one thing starting a virtual meeting at 5 o'clock and being present in the chamber or alternative accommodation at 5 o'clock, and maybe a compromise so the meetings are brought forward a little bit would be appropriate. I'm certainly very mindful that our officers have a very long day when we have full council, or any of the committees for that matter. And I think if anything could be done to try and alleviate that, it would be a good thing. The second issue is that of the annual meeting. Personally, I would very much favour bringing it forward and doing it virtually. I think the sooner we get the next council bedded in, the better. There are a lot of things to be done during the course of the next 12 months, and we need to get a start on that. But why could we not have a very simple virtual transfer of the chain, but then have an out-of-door event, maybe outside the town hall, that members of the public could observe? It would be easier from the COVID point of view if we're out of doors, and it would actually be quite a nice event for the public to see. My final point is, if we are allowed to continue with virtual meetings, I think there is an argument that members of the public find it easier to observe what's going on virtually than coming into the chamber. And we all know that public attendance at our council meetings is actually very, very limited indeed, unless there's something very controversial going on. So I think probably I would favour at least some of our meetings continuing virtually if we're allowed to. Thank you.
Okay, I would say that for a long time now, all council meetings have been streamed on YouTube. So they have been available either for people to watch, I think probably live, or certainly to watch them afterwards. Councillor Ellis, do you have any fresh point to make? Come back.
I just wanted to come back to Councillor Mann and ask her if 17:15 would be an acceptable time for her.
I don't think my particular schedule should be the arbiter of this, but obviously I'm happy to try and arrange something. For me, my work day is 9:15 to 5:15, frankly, so I have already been cutting into my time when we've been doing our virtual meetings. So personally, a 5:30 or 5:45 start would be better.
Right, I think the first thing we need to establish with this is what time we're going to have meetings, regardless of how they go forward. Town Clerk, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of points, really. I think certainly from the issue about start times is one which is absolutely in the gift of members, and whatever time you feel is appropriate is when the meetings will take place. I think from an officer perspective, the one thing I would say is I would certainly advise differently if we were coming up to an election. And the reason I would advise differently is because it's pretty well established that councils who choose to meet during the working day or at times which don't enable people who have normal working lives and normal commutes to and from work to participate actually lose out on full-time workers. Obviously, the issues you've got are a particular cohort we have now, and that's for you to resolve. But I would certainly advise serious consideration to at least some council meetings starting at or after 6 p.m. when you actually come to look for candidates for a new council. Otherwise, you are effectively excluding those who are in traditional full-time employment, and they still represent a significant percentage of the population who are typically underrepresented on councils to a significant degree. So that's looking to the future rather than now. The time for now will need to be whenever it is. The point about meetings and communication with the public, as you say, I think probably for 6 years we have been streaming meetings, but I have no doubt that if the outcome of the court case is that virtual meetings are allowed, there will be considerable consideration given by councils of all shapes and sizes and at all levels to how hybrid meetings might be able to work for those councils which are able to make the investment to facilitate that. So I would anticipate that would be something which would come down the tracks. And when I talk about hybrid meetings, I'm talking about meetings where it is possible to be physically in attendance or virtually in attendance, and for the member to participate equally in either one of those ways. So I would anticipate, and obviously for the public then to observe both from those sides of things. And the third point is just an observation in relation to if we move to the 4th for the annual meeting, no problem with that. Just really to give members a heads up, we do have an informal pre-annual meeting which typically takes place where the discussion takes place informally around next steps, and that would be therefore taking place tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. And we would circulate the information for that first thing tomorrow. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just an observation about the third option, the hybrid meeting. That's a discussion that we've had in a number of organisations, and almost unanimously, those organisations who've tried it are relieved when they can stop hybrid meetings. They say they simply don't work, both from the point of view of chairmanship and from the point of view of members who are physically at the meeting, not appreciating the input of people who are not at the meeting. The advice that I've always had on that is one thing or the other, but don't mix it. It doesn't work.
Thank you. Right, I think we're going to try and sort out now what times for physical meetings, what times we're going to go for. So do we have I know a couple of people have suggested things, but can I have a proposal, please, from somebody? Councillor Parker.
Thank you. I think I'd like to follow up the last apparent compromise that was being reached between Councillors Mann and Ellis. I propose 5:30.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis, do you have something?
Yeah, I would just like to amend that proposal that 5:30, once we become physical meetings for the duration of this council only, once the newer council's elected, they can thrash that out then. Right,
thank you. I had trouble following some of that. So you're proposing 5:30 for the duration of the rest of this council, and then the next council could make their own decision.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So do we have so that's a, so we've got 5:30 start time for council meetings. So are you seconding that then, Councillor Ellis? Are you happy to second that one? Thank you. So we have a proposal which has been seconded. Councillor Parker, you asking to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just for the record and to keep the record straight, I accept that amendment.
Right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a proposal on the table that council meetings for the duration of the rest of this council, so that's till, is it 2023, Town Clerk, will start at 5:30. We've had it's been proposed and seconded. Can those in favour please show?
That's carried, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Can I just confirm, Madam Mayor, in my understanding, just in case I've got it wrong, that is for physical meetings. In the event that virtual meetings we continue at the same times, or is this for physical and virtual meetings for the duration? Sorry, I apologise if I missed it.
Oh, I don't think we clarified on that. Councillor Parker?
Again, Madam Mayor, I like to keep things simple. I had in my mind that this would be for all meetings.
Yeah, I think I did as well. Thank you. Right, thank you. We now go on to, I think we've had a proposal from Councillor Smith that made a proposal that we have a virtual annual meeting on the 4th of May, which means we'll have to have a pre-meeting tomorrow night. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yes,
Councillor,
you do.
Yeah, Councillor Ward, thank you. Open it up for debate. Anybody wish to amend that? Councillor Parker?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I muted myself. Yeah, I'm going to vote for that, so there's no question about that. But I'd like to follow up with Councillor Ward's suggestion about a follow-up outdoor event to celebrate the handing over. And yeah, I'll speak completely out of turn. We'll happily put the Century Garden at your disposal for that event.
Okay. So is that an addition to the proposal on the table, or is that going to be an amendment to the proposal on the table? Town Clerk, help me, please.
Let's make it an addition, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I just think what we do need to be clear about is, and I'm just looking to the General Manager in case I'm wrong, there is still, but I think it ends on the 17th, prohibition on assemblies in excess of 6. We're awaiting government guidance going forwards. You will still not be able to have the handover of the chain. You'll have to have, if you like, someone put the chain down, then clean the chain, then someone else pick it up. So it's not going to, you're not going to be able to have something which will reflect the same kind of ceremonial. It will have to have social distancing in place, and we will have to manage numbers in terms of what it is and proximity. So just please be aware that this isn't going to be, it isn't going to look or feel anything like the normal handover of the chain, and there's no reason not to do that. But as a council, we're clearly going to have to abide by all the measures that are in place at that time. I don't know whether there's anything I've missed, or if the General Manager thinks that that's overcautious in terms of approach. I'm just conscious that we do have to be seen to be adhering to all the elements of the regulations in that respect.
Could you come in, please, General Manager, your thoughts?
I was going to say that's a fair assessment of the situation. I think the main target date at this stage is the 17th of May. And obviously we need to understand that the 17th of May is the earliest that the step 3 will be lifted from how government are presented. So I think 17th of May post, there's a lot more flexibility in relation to such an activity. in relation to numbers, but the same principles around social distancing, etc., will apply.
Okay, so maybe we don't make an actual decision on some type of ceremonial thing this evening. I think what we do need to do, though, is to make a decision as to when we're going to have the annual meeting. Councillor Venning, did you wish to talk? Alec, you're muted. Councillor Venning, you're muted still.
How's that? Right. I was just going to apologise just in case I can't make it tomorrow. That was all. You're talking about having this meeting. I was just going to apologise just in case I can't make it.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson.
It's just a practical point. If you are handing over chains of office and they have to be sanitised, experience tells me that sanitising metals and enamels is highly damaging, and I would recommend avoiding it at all costs by quarantining the item and allowing for virus decay, rather than doing a person-to-person handover.
I think 72 hours, is that correct, Councillor Williamson? Wayne?
I believe so, a minimum of, although it does reside on certain metals for longer, we are told.
Okay, thank you. Right, so we've got a proposal on the table which I believe has been seconded, that we have our annual meeting on the 4th of May. Any further discussion on that matter? Right, put it to the vote then. Those in favour, please show.
That is carried but not unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Right, thank you. So that means that the pre-meeting will be tomorrow, and the town clerk will send out agendas for that hopefully tomorrow morning, please.
Tomorrow morning, Madam Mayor, yes.
Thank you. So if we are moving with that proposal, then we need to also endorse in principle the draft 21-22 calendar of meetings. So that is Appendix 1A. Is that correct, Town Clerk?
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Right, so I'd like to propose that calendar of meetings. Can I have a seconder, Councillor Hutton?
Can I just say something, please, Madam Mayor? I don't know if there's been an error of this, but I'm being a little bit presumptuous. If I do become the mayor, I did have a word with Mrs. Smolcombe a few weeks ago about this. Two things. The meeting on June, the council meeting, is the 22nd. I will be away then. I have very, very deliberately booked no holidays for the whole of the mayoral year that might come up. But I did book a 5-day sailing holiday about 6 months ago, deliberately for April this year, and it has been postponed until that period. So I really would like that date to be changed. Also, I'd like it to be changed, and actually more important than me, is the fact that it's 2 months from now. And I, like Councillor Ward, am very conscious that the new council has got a lot of things that we want to get moving. And it would be, as it is at present, it's 4 weeks after the B&P meeting. So I think really we could do with it being a bit earlier anyway, because I want to get things going. So I wonder if I could suggest, can we move it 2 weeks further forward?
Town Clerk, can you come in here, please?
The challenge and Councillor Hutton makes a perfectly valid point in relation to the link to budget and policy, that the difficulty that we've got with that day is that is the day, as members will recall, typically we have to agree our accounts and our annual return before the end of June. Now that is the date at which we normally, or there or thereabouts, is the date we normally go for. It is the date which has been agreed both with the council's accountant and the council's auditor as fitting in with their timelines for delivery. So there's no reason you can't have another council meeting if you wish to do so, but unfortunately that is the one date which we actually do need to have in the diary for a council meeting in order to sign off the account. So you can have another one as well as, but we do need to have that date in the diary, please.
Okay, thank you. So
that would apply a week earlier as well, would it, on the 15th?
Yes, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't want to impose on people. I presume we could always have a quick Zoom meeting if we needed, just to agree the accounts. But obviously, I'm guided by the rest of the council. I may not become mayor. If just this was mentioned, I did mention this to Jan because I knew I'd got a problem.
We would only be able to have a Zoom meeting to agree the accounts if legally we are able to continue making decisions using Zoom.
Yeah,
Councillor Parker.
Really did hesitate before saying this, but as someone who's spent 30 years as a consultant, it's my experience that the consultant should fit in with the client, not the other way around. Can I just suggest that we go back to our auditor and our accountant and try to agree a different date?
I'm very happy to ask those questions, Madam Mayor. I think the only thing I would say is this was agreed some months ago, and it's at a stage where both the auditor and the accountant actually go out to all the councils they service to seek agreement. So the challenge that we've got is, I suspect that they actually, and this is obviously their critical period of time, they will have booked in good faith based upon the responses they've received from councils in relation to dates. My apologies, we went for this date because this is the date that it typically is in each calendar year, and I'm sorry for that. I will certainly have the conversation, but I think it's going to be challenging because we are now some months down the line from when this date was actually booked, and they will have other slots in as well.
Right, Councillor Crawford, I've got you wishing to speak. Councillor Parker, did you just want to come back to that?
Yes, I want to think back to something that the clerk discussed with us some months ago now, which is the idea of an informal virtual meeting to take the feeling of the council, followed by as it were, a delegated meeting of physical councillors. Is this something that could be delegated following an informal meeting to a meeting of the Budget and Policy Committee?
If I may, Madam Mayor, this is one of the few occasions in the year where legislation specifically requires a decision of the full assembly. The council is unable to delegate it to a committee, an officer, or to any other organ of the authority. It can only be the council meeting in full assembly which can take this decision, I'm afraid to say.
Thank you. I thought it was worth asking, though. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Crawford, then Councillor Mrs. Ewings, please.
Thank you. I was just going to say there is quite a big gap between the 4th and then the 22nd of June. It probably is only the 6 weeks. It may be a bit more. But I was just going to suggest maybe that after BNP on the 25th of May, maybe we could have a council meeting for the new council, because it does seem a long way off when we're going into a new term with a new mayor. So maybe we could go after BNP when we've made some looked at the finances and those sort of decisions, and then we can still have the one on the 22nd because we've still got a bit of time there. I don't know how that sits.
So are you suggesting perhaps we fit one in something like the 8th of June?
I thought that was possibly a bit too near the 22nd. I was suggesting something like the it's really hard to see, the 26th of May. So that would be...
But that's the day after Budget and Policy?
Yes. Is that too budget policy?
I think you need probably a bit of a gap. That's my personal view. I don't know. Town Clerk, would you like to comment on that?
I think for the process to work, if you're going to have it, you'd need to have it the week afterwards. Clearly, there needs to be a little bit of consideration time, if you like, between the minutes coming out for Budget and Policy and the opportunity for council to reflect on them. I mean, there's no reason if you wanted to do that why the DM&L committee on the 1st of June couldn't be put forward to the 2nd and then have the council meeting on the 1st, if that was the way you wish to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. This is just a suggestion so that we can formulate the new council and without too much of a gap, and then we can still meet to finalise the accounts. And I know that we can't do anything virtually if we're not allowed to, so that's not an issue.
Councillor
I
Mrs.
think,
Mann.
if I may, can I,
Sorry.
Madam Mayor, just to say, in terms of the new council, bear in mind it'll be the annual meeting which will do the appointments to the committees, to the outside body. So all the formal work of the new council will happen at the annual meeting. This will just be a routine council meeting, if you like, from that side of things. Sorry, Madam Mayor, thank you.
It's okay. Councillor Mrs. Mann next, please.
I'd just like to say that I like Councillor Crawford's idea of adding an extra meeting in between so that we could start. So that would happen after the, so that would be the 2nd of June, according to the town clerk.
I think the town clerk was suggesting we had it on the 1st of June and moved DMNL to the 2nd.
Yeah, that I think that would be good. And then because we have so much happening with COVID right now, with the regulations all opening up on the 17th, I think we're going to be in a particular place where there might be reasons why we want to be meeting anyway. Just because then we break up, don't we? Sort of right after the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. So that's who's putting that forward as a proposal then? Councillor Crawford, are you happy to put that forward as a proposal? An amendment to the paper that's put forward? Councillor Mann, would you second that? Yeah. Any further discussion on that matter? So subject to that amendment, are we happy to go with Appendix 1A, please? Those in favour, please show.
That is carried, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Right, anything else on this matter, Town Clerk? What's my place? I think we've probably...
No, I think that covers it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, now we move on to item 8, policy priorities, which the paper has been prepared by the Town Clerk. I propose taking these in. There are 3 recommendations, I think, in this paper, and I propose discussing each priority and then taking a recommendation from each of them. First of all, do we have any questions on the first priority, please? Town Clerk, did you wish to say anything?
I think in relation to the first priority, which is supporting the town through and beyond coronavirus, the only update I would like to give is if members look at the 4th recommendation, Roman 4, we talk about communicating to principal authority partners. Just for members' information, West Devon Borough Council has conducted a consultation meeting with representatives of the business community within the town about the possibility of putting an application, which I'm assuming would be a borough-wide application, in with regard to the government's community renewal fund programme. Now, there aren't any details on that as yet, and as details emerge, we will let you know. But that's one of the things when we talk about communicating to partners, it's very much about how we can provide an opportunity, if you like, to put a voice for Tavistock in relation to either schemes and initiatives which might be Tavistock specific or might be more general, but could have a benefit to Tavistock and its residents. So that was the only thing. Otherwise, I hope the recommendations speak for themselves, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So the recommendations for this stream are on page 5 at 2.3. There are 4 bullet points. Should we take them as a whole, or do you want to go down through them?
I would suggest, Madam Mayor, either take them as a whole, or if there are specific ones colleagues wish to pull out, then to pull those out and take the others as a whole.
Okay, Councillor Parker.
Madam Mayor, I move that we take all 4 recommendations together.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Ewing, I didn't let you speak earlier. Did you? Is that on the schedule of meetings? Sorry.
May I just say something now, please? That's with the coronavirus, with the group that you have set up of the mayor, deputy mayor and immediate past mayor, how will that carry on after the mayoral changes? Because won't we need to put something else in place to name the people?
Town clerk.
It will
And
be
it's nowhere in, I can't see it anywhere in the paperwork.
it will still be the mayor, deputy mayor and immediate past mayor, but the immediate past mayor, instead of being Councillor Ward, will be Councillor Johnson. And of course, the new mayor and deputy mayor are to be appointed.
Right. So we don't need to name names, just appointments.
Yeah. Right, sorry about that, Councillor Ewings. Councillor Parker, can you start again, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I moved that we take the recommendations 1 to 4 en bloc.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Hutton, is that you? Right. Open it out to debate. Anybody have any comments or questions? Right, we have a proposal which has been seconded. Can I see those in favour, please show?
That is carried, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Right, we move on to the next stream, which is a neighbourhood development plan. And the recommendations are at 2.13, is that correct? Yeah, on page 8. So do we wish to take this as en bloc, or have a recommendation here, please? Councillor Hutton.
I will take them on block again, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Smith, thank you. Open for debate, comments or questions? Right, we have a proposal which has been seconded. Those in favour, please show.
Carried, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Then we move on to the third stream, which were public conveniences with a recommendation at 2.15. We're going to take this on block. Councillor Ellis.
Madam Mayor, it's just to do with recommendation A(i), where the continuation of existing arrangements to provide financial support at the bus station toilets. Can I be reassured that if we are financially contributing to the bus station toilets, that they are kept to an acceptable standard of usage for the public? You know, if we're paying into something, then they should be looking good, smelling nice, and be in a toilet that you'd be happy to use.
Thank you. Carl, Town Clerk, can you come in here, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we have an agreement to make an annual contribution. There are various caveats around that contribution. As far as I'm aware, we have not, so although the facility is there for the Borough Council, we have not been asked to make that contribution this year. So clearly, in the event that we were asked to make that, we would review the various preconditions that were put in place beforehand, and we would certainly ask the question in relation to both the length of time it has been open and the performance in relation to opening, were that to arise. But as I say, we haven't been billed, to the best of my knowledge, on that at this stage.
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Yeah, just a question for the Town Clerk. We're using the word toilets in the plural. There's only one toilet open at the bus station. Is it intended to open the other two?
I don't know what the post-COVID arrangement is planned by the Borough Council. We are seeking to have discussions with them in relation to the Guildhall public conveniences, and that's referenced elsewhere on the agenda. So we can certainly raise that as a question with them.
And that, I mean, that on the answer to that depends a lot of the issue of how much the financial contribution would be. We did, and a couple of us did some work on the breakdown of the costs of those bus station toilets, and some of the charges that were being made were frankly exorbitant. And I think it would be good to subject those costs to quite a bit of interrogation before we agree with that. And I mean, that's just a little word to the wise for the Public Conveniences Subcommittee.
I don't know if Councillor Smith wants to pick that up, but as a member of that group, we do look at the costs in incredible detail, don't we, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, that's certainly true. The reports that have come to us have been quite detailed in the past, and I'm no reason to think that that would change.
No. Thank you. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say, I'm not sure this is the occasion to be getting bogged down in the details of the toilets. The important paragraph here is paragraph B, liaise with the Borough Council, etc. In a way, paragraph A is subsumed within paragraph B, and I move that paragraph A be removed.
Town Clerk, would you be happy with if that was, would that be a clear enough instruction to you?
Yes, of course, Madam Mayor.
Right, well, I'll support that amendment by Councillor Ward. So are you moving that we just go with the recommendation in B, Councillor Ward?
Yes, I'm happy to move that.
Right, thank you. So that's a proposal that's been seconded. Councillor Parker?
The only problem with that, Madam Mayor, is that as it stands, it lays down a marker for those who elected us to help, partly to help look after the toilets in this town, and partly for the Borough Council, that we have two targets here. One is the bus station toilets, and the other one is the Guildhall car park toilets. Remove those, and we're just talking in generalities. My own view is that we should keep those markers down, that we want to see the bus station toilets in particular kept open, and we're happy to continue with the Guildhall car park toilet. I think it would be a step backwards to remove that recommendation A.
Councillor Ward?
We could simply modify paragraph B slightly by saying words to the effect, work together to support good quality and financially sustainable public conveniences at the bus station and in the Guildhall car park. So
I would be happy with that. Yeah, I could live with that.
Yeah, and as a seconder of that proposal, I'd be happy with that as well. So we do have a proposal now on the table. Open for debates, comments, questions. Right, can we put it to the vote then? Those in favour, please show.
That is carried, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. We move on then to items circulated for information only. Item 9, service report, General Manager. It's a fairly detailed report from the General Manager. Would you like to speak to this, please, General Manager Wayne? Because I think there are some updates from when this was originally written.
Only to add, to draw to members' attention, the additional spend for the Guildhall car park in relation to bringing back the resurfacing works around the Guildhall toilet, which will be to a value of in the region of £12,000, and the additional spend in relation to rectifying issues around the lighting in the region of £6,000. One positive element to report is that we've had delivery of the resin and the Arcadia stone today, and we have got it programmed that the road surface will be installed tomorrow, subject to weather conditions, and the weather conditions look appropriate for installing it tomorrow. And hopefully then the side path will be adjacent to the war memorial, will be installed later this week.
Thank you. So thank you for the report, General Manager. Any comments or questions?
Move the report, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I think we just move that then, thank you. Move on then to the Town Hall, Butchers Hall and Works Department report. Town Clerk, I think you wish to comment on this.
Excuse me, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, if I could, if colleagues turn to the last page of the report, page 4, they'll see there's a reference there to liaison with the police with regard to antisocial behaviour and alcohol-related issues that have been taking place in the Meadows. By way of background, there was a public spaces protection order which gave the police the power to control alcohol consumption in the Meadows, which expired in January of this year. The police and West Devon Borough Council, and the reason it would be West Devon Borough Council is because they are the responsible authority for introducing these, had a conversation, I should say, with one another about whether or not to renew, and decided not to renew that order in January, and therefore it fell away. Unfortunately, the town council, both as landlord and as community representative body, weren't consulted as part of that. Your office has had a meeting with representatives of the police and the borough council last week, as a result of which, and in view of the trend, which is unfortunately increasing problems of alcohol-related antisocial behaviour, the police have now indicated that they are minded to support well, I call it a renewal, but in practice, I guess it would have to be a new public spaces protection order in that location to control the consumption of alcohol. And the officer from the borough council, in principle, was going to take that back to the borough council with a view to it being progressed. So this is really to notify you of where we're at. And if members are comfortable with the approach that that they're adopting on your behalf, in view of the consistent problems and the growing problems we've had in that particular location, to ask if you would be happy with a form of wording which won't necessarily be precisely this, but will be something like this, if you like, that we could feed back both to the borough council and the police following this meeting, so that they understand the will of the council. And it would be something along the lines of that Tavistock Town Council endorse and commend to West Devon Borough Council and the police the progression of a public spaces protection order urgently, in order to provide controls on the consumption of alcohol in the Meadows, with a view to implementation at the earliest opportunity, having regard to the significant and growing antisocial problems associated antisocial problems being caused in that location. Is that something that, in view of the issues we've had with vandalism, alcohol consumption, and the other issues there, that members are happy to go along with, is the question.
Right, I certainly am. I think it's a great shame that the order has fallen away, and I think it does need, we do need a new order there to make sure that we've got those powers. Councillor Parker, then Councillor Harry Smith.
Can I seek the advice of the town clerk, please? As a trustee of the Sensory Garden, I, of course, and Councillor Smith, have an interest in this. I mean, I think our interests in the Sensory Garden align precisely with those of the Town Council, but I just wonder from the Town Clerk whether that prevents me from taking part in the debate on this and voting.
I don't think on this occasion it does. If you are happy for the fact that you have declared your membership of the Sensory Garden to be recorded, I think that covers it off, because essentially this is about town council land, and yes, there is a consequential benefit to the sensory garden, but I don't think it's a primary one from that point of view.
Thank you. In that case, can I ask that that be recorded, please?
Thank you.
Can I also ask that there is same recorded for myself also with regard to the sensory garden?
Thank you. So I think we should support the recommendation that the town clerk has made. Can we have anybody else wish to speak to it? Can we have a show of hands then to see how many members support that, please?
That is carried, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions on the report, Town Hall and Events Management Report? Councillor Hutton, Deputy Mayor. You're on mute, Councillor Hutton.
Sorry about that. There was obviously a feeling from what we were talking earlier that we want to get back to meeting in person for meetings as soon as we safely can. And I'm just conscious that we're all talking about we'd like to meet, but we need to be safe. So we're probably going to end up meeting, I would imagine, for a while in the town hall. Now, we have got in the report that we're thinking of the town hall opening in August. I'm wondering whether we need to be thinking about maybe moving it a month or so earlier. And I think consideration needs to be given on that. I'm also very conscious that my daughter and a lot of her friends, there's so many weddings that she's not been going to in the last year. Apparently getting married is a very, very difficult problem at present. And there's an absolute shortage of venues. And it may well be that we could actually get the town hall, if we could get the town hall open by this summer, we actually might get some last minute business quite easily, which will help pay for it. Just a thought, I think maybe it needs to be considered. Maybe August is a little late.
I don't know if the General Manager or the Town Clerk would like to come in then.
I'm happy to come in. Obviously, in relation to opening the town hall for council meetings, that's, you know, the principles behind that is straightforward and not problematic. It doesn't prevent the town hall from reopening for those kind of activities. Obviously, from day dot in relation to coronavirus, I think we've regularly reported our thought process in relation to both capacity, finances, etc., and the risk areas and risk items in relation to the business of the council. I think we've made it quite clear the timeframes. The council have committed to those timeframes throughout this process and have agreed. It hasn't been debated at any stage around the fact of the town hall closing until that period. I really do think that it would be a retrograde step to actually bring that forward, both from a health and safety perspective, a planning perspective, and also a resource perspective. Any event or activity within town hall which relates to weddings, which is alcohol-based, an alcohol-based activity, where we've only started preliminary discussions around how that can be managed safely within that environment because of the nature and the layout of that building and where the bar is and the proximity of the bar, etc. We just haven't got the resources to even consider that prior to the actual date that's been presented historically, but also just the planning considerations as well for those kind of activities. You're potentially putting the staff, not intentionally, but potentially putting the staff in a very, very challenging and difficult situation, both from a resource perspective and also from a safety perspective, I think, for those kind of events.
Okay, thank you very much, General Manager. I've got Councillor Ellis and Councillor Mrs Ewing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to speak on the recent vandalism in the Meadows. The devil makes work for idle hands. And although I find the vandalism abhorrent, the teams of this town are absolutely bored stupid because there is nothing for them to do. I know our officers are working hard to look at how they can get some preventative measures within the Meadows and surrounding area to stop this vandalism. However, I believe us as councillors need to start investigating options to occupy our youth, and moving forward for the rest of this council, maybe start investing in our youth as we've invested in the more adult population throughout the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Ewing, please.
Thank you, Councillor. It's very well said. Totally agree. We're not very good at supporting our young people at this town council. But I would actually like to go back to the opening of the town hall. I spoke to the town clerk a few weeks ago about this issue and asked why the town hall cannot be opened from about the 1st of July. The current restrictions will be fully lifted by the 21st of June if everything goes according to plan. And, you know, I just feel we have got time to make some money out of our facilities. If it's done for the, you know, from the 1st of July, we don't need one-way systems. We don't need to worry because the mingling goes, the wearing of masks goes, and things like that. So, you know, when we set our dates, the government had not set out its roadmap. We were a bit ahead of the government when we made that decision. So maybe this is an opportunity to look at doing something. I have to say, I have to go and see a client and I drive past Councillor Williamson's facility, and the joy I felt to see people camping, children playing, is really wonderful, to just be able to see some normal life going on. And I meant to message you, Councillor Williamson, when I first saw it, because it is a complete joy to see a facility that's been well run and everything else that people can go out and enjoy. We should be opening up our town hall on those dates when those restrictions have been lifted. We're wasting, you know, a month, 2 months, you know, so the summer months when people would like to get married or whatever. I think maybe we're being overcautious.
Councillor Mrs Parker.
Sorry, but I thought that alcohol indoors wasn't actually permissible until at least the 17th of July. And that was the date that I had in mind. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that is only 2 weeks before the beginning of August.
17th of May, Councillor Parker.
For alcohol indoors?
And meals.
Oh, right. Sorry, I'm way out then.
Okay. General Manager, do you want to come back with any other points raised?
On probably the first point, which obviously is supporting youth provision, I would like to say that clearly I did have a conversation with Councillor Ewins and Vicky Lloyd in relation to the skate park, and also have had conversations in relation to where it happened. We met on site, Councillor Ewins. We had a meeting. I had a discussion with both you and Vicky Lloyd on how we could actually take potentially. No, we didn't have a. Do you want to come in then, Councillor Ewins, on that meeting?
We did have a conversation, Mr. Worksman, General Manager, but you were quite negative about what we could do, how we could go forward, how we would have to pay the insurance, the maintenance and everything else. You were very negative.
So Councillor Ewins, are you actually saying that I didn't give clear advice on how that project could be moved forward, and that I did actually offer the Youth Cafe the opportunity of providing additional advice? My apologies if I misunderstood you at the end of that meeting when you thanked me for my time at that meeting, and also thanked me for my time in relation to the actual BMX track and advice that was discussed in relation to that. If I'm misunderstanding the meeting we had and how that meeting went forward, then please put me correct, because I was at that meeting. I understand the advice that was given.
General Manager, I will do that.
Hold on, Councillor Ewins. I understand what happened at that meeting. I understand what I said at that meeting. I also relayed the views of the council in relation to certain aspects in relation to insurance. I provided my professional advice around the challenges of what needed to be looked at in relation to building a new skate park. I explained about the environmental side and the environmental impacts. I explained about the history in relation to the building of the previous skate park and what we looked into. I'm struggling to understand how I didn't provide professional advice, and I was negative at that meeting because all I felt I was doing was providing as much possible advice to make sure the youth cafe were informed of their thought process. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you probably need to take this discussion.
I will take this out of here, but I will forward you the emails that Mrs. Walsh, Lloyd Walsh, sent following the meeting with you.
Thank you. So there's been some discussion about bringing the reopening of the town hall forward. Councillor Mann.
Could we perhaps just have another look and see and have a discussion at a budget and policy to see what the actual economic impact would be? I know that one of the considerations and the reasons we weren't doing it was because of staffing. And we've been down, I think, up until recently on the actual people that we had in place before, and we hadn't hired into those roles. So I think there are some really practical things that probably need to be discussed rather than just the idea. But I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't continue to be re-looking at those things if that's something that people on the council want to do.
Thank you. Can I ask the town clerk to come in, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I mean, I think as has already been articulated, yes, resourcing has a component feature within this, but fundamentally we aren't at a stage in terms of either the roadmap or clarity going forwards where we can actually make an assessment in relation to the safety side of things. Bear in mind the Devon County show, the Dorset County show, both of which were scheduled to take place in September, have been cancelled on COVID grounds. Looking forwards, we have to be mindful that there are a lot of events that are already not taking place this year, which have only recently been cancelled because of COVID concerns. So until we have something from government which says clearly and categorically there is no social distance, or there will be no social distancing, you do not have to worry about the sanitization measures and the hygiene measures that have been put in place. We have some fundamental issues with bar-led events, and that's what we're talking about in the town hall. Is the town hall going to be remobilized for the provision of non-bar-led events and activities where we can provide something which is safe for users and safe for the public? Absolutely, we will do that as the unlocking enables us to do it. We can have a one-way in, we can have a one-way out, we can have cleaning regimes, we can have suitable separation between chairs if people are going to attend something like, for example, U3A have done on occasions in the past. But we have to distinguish really clearly between those kind of activities which safely can take place and can be supported, and those activities which present a real and present risk to those participating and to staff and to the council as a public sector organisation who is there to deliver the highest standards and to meet the highest standards for and on behalf of the community. So I think there is a conversation to be had, and as government guidance emerges, probably post 17th of May, we'll be able to have that. But please draw a distinction between the town hall being open for general events which are suited to it and those kind of bar-led activities which may or may not be capable of being delivered going forwards. So please make that distinction in your minds, because it's not about town hall open or closed. It's about town hall being able to do some stuff and not being able to do other stuff because of its configuration and the guidelines that we need to adhere to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak to the Town Hall, Butchers Hall and Works Department report? Right, can we note that then please and move on then to the Panny Market report?
Councillor Williamson had his hand up, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Williamson had his hand up several times.
Sorry, it's hidden underneath your name on my screen.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I would just like to say that the wise words of our clerk relating to wet lead and dry lead events are very pertinent at this time. We are only, in the business I operate, partially open, although it may look like people are enjoying the fresh air, and indeed they are. We are operating under very strict hygiene rules. We don't have a premises license of any sort on our holiday park. People have to bring their own alcohol. And I think we're beginning to mix up what we do in the fresh air on Dartmoor with a closed environment of our town hall. And although I'm very appreciative of the comments of Councillor Ewing about the joy that was apparent, it's a very different thing to go camping than having a wet lead event of any sort. And I plead that we move with great caution and responsibility when we open our facilities in the town.
Thank you. Right, so I propose then that we move on to the pannier market report. There are two reports enclosed with your papers. There's a supplementary market report which is enclosed. I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions about this. I think it's been very pleasing to see the pannier market opened up again. It was an air of great excitement the Tuesday the 13th when they were first open, and I've certainly been in there a few times since, and seems to be fairly busy, so well done to everybody in connection with that. And there's a huge amount of work went on by staff and traders to get the market up and open again. Any comments or questions on that report? No, right, thank you. If we then move on then to item 10, finance and other matters. A report of the assistant to the town clerk enclosed. We do have a recommendation there regarding the telephone kiosk removal at Hazel Road in Bishopsmead. There's a recommendation which I will propose. We have a seconder, so it's the Tavistock Town Council support the proposal to remove the telephone kiosk at Hazel Road, Tavistock, for the following reasons. It was difficult to justify the retention based on the very low usage over the previous 12 months. This could be demonstrated by the kiosk being full of dust and spiders. And there is good landline and mobile phone coverage in the area, especially due to it being a relatively new estate. I think it was built in the 1970s, so it's probably before some of you were born even. So I'm not sure if we cast that as relatively new, but right, so that's a recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation, please? Councillor Barry Smith, thank you. I know you went to look at the telephone box and discover the spiders, Councillor Smith, so thank you for that. Councillor Parker.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, question for Jan. I was the one that asked whether the usage figures included 999 calls. Did we get an answer on that?
You're on mute, Jan. You're still on mute.
You're still muted, Jan.
I know. Sorry, I'm trying to do it. I've not yet received a response on that. I will update at the next EM&L.
Thank you. The reason I ask is that it came up with a telephone kiosk in another city, and it was only afterwards that I found out that in that case it didn't count as something like half a dozen 999 calls that had been made from the telephone kiosk. So I just wondered whether the practice was the same here, same in Tavistock.
Right, I think we do need to take this matter tonight, don't we? Because there's a time limit. Is that right, Mrs. Smollicum?
Yes, that's correct. We do need a decision this evening.
Thank you. So we've got a recommendation which has been seconded. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Crawford, please.
Yeah, sorry, I really don't feel able to vote on this. And when you asked for my response, I really don't know where this telephone box is. And secondly, if it is used for emergency calls, even if that's low, that could be saving somebody's life. So I personally don't want to vote on it.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Right, any further comments? Right, can we have those in favour, please, of this recommendation, please show.
I shall count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thank you. Those against?
1, 2. I have 2, 3. Sorry, 2 against. 2 against.
Councillor Ellis, Councillor Mrs. Ewings.
Yes, thank you.
Any abstentions?
1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions.
5 abstentions, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Venning, Smith, Mrs. Parker, Councillor Parker, and Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. So the motion is carried.
Thank you. Right, thank you. Move on to the rest of the report. Mrs. Smallacombe.
I've been asked to bring to members' attention the page on our Town Council website regarding Drake statue.
Yeah.
I will add a link to my next report, but it is visible now if anybody wants to access it.
Right, thank you. Councillor Mrs. Mann.
I just wanted to say that it's been done really well and it looks really good, and thank you to the Heritage Trust for having done such a good job of putting together the material, and the photos which were taken are much better than what we had previously. If you had previously looked on our website, we only had one single photo and it wasn't actually of our Drake statue, it was of the one in Plymouth. Now we have the plaques that are around the base, and there's a lot more information, including information about his participation in the slave trade. So it's a really big improvement.
Right, thank you. That's very useful, and I think we should look out for that addition to our website. Any further comments or questions? No, we can note that then. Thank you very much, Mrs. Smallacombe. Town Hall and Markets Consultative Group meeting, notes from the meeting of the 23rd of March.
Madam Mayor, sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
Councillor Ellis may have wanted to
Sorry.
come in at the back end of that one, I think. Sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, sorry, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to quickly compliment the work of the office members of staff who very quickly and swiftly updated our website to reflect Oxbridge, and what a good job they've done for such a great man. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay, right, sorry, then we move on to the notes of the consultative group meeting of the Town Hall and Markets group, chaired by Councillor Squire, who is not with us this evening. I don't think are there any comments or questions? I think we just need to note these.
Note the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Then we move on to the Whitchurch Down Consultative Group. Got the notes of the meeting here. I noticed that there's mention of the next scheduled Tavistock Matters meeting. That seems to have been movable on an hourly basis today. I'm not quite sure when the next meeting is. It the 4th of May, Town Clerk, do you know?
I'm not sure what we've actually settled on, but we are definitely seeking to have one as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah, I think it is. They're trying to sort a meeting out, but it's proving difficult at the moment. But,
I think it's gone to the 4th of May at 2:30.
Yeah,
that was the latest.
Yeah, I think it changed several times during the course of today, which is a bit disappointing. So I'm going to find that one a bit difficult to attend. But okay, so if we note those minutes, thank you. Item D is the Tavistock Bid Company minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of February. Don't know if anybody's got anything to add to that. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Have we missed item C, Whitchurch Down Consultative?
Yeah, we've just done that one.
I'm so sorry. I must have drifted off. Could I ask a question about that meeting, please?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to link items E and 5, the management plan and the walkabouts around the golf course. My question about the management plan is who prepares that? And the reason that I'm asking is linked to the golf course. Now, I know that the general manager has been in touch with the golf club, and he's been in touch with me. I raised an issue with the general manager for other members' information about the apparent creeping of the golf course beyond the line of trees towards the Pimple. It had been set up as a practice range with flags and a reformatted bunker. I understand that the general manager has said that in terms of the relationship between the town council and the golf club, in his view, nothing has been transgressed, and I accept that. So I'm not raising a fuss about that. What concerns me is that a large area of land that, in my experience, has been used by families, whether playing ball with their children, throwing frisbees, walking around, excuse me, and walking dogs, it has been taken over. I believe that change needed planning permission and hasn't received planning permission. And the last I heard, the general manager and West Devon Borough Council were in touch with each other. It may be that there've not been enough time for any information to come out of that. But I just wonder, first of all, has anything come out of that? And two, and the second, who will be preparing the management plan, and what will that be the place to resolve this? Sounds really complicated. It was simple in my head when I started.
No, I don't think it's complicated. I think I'm going to ask the general manager to come in there, please.
Yes, I can. In relation to the query in relation to the golf club or the encroachment towards the Pimple, obviously from my understanding of how the email correspondence has happened, obviously Councillor Parker, you've contacted and CC'd me in West Devon Borough Council. I also did a follow-up and said that I would like their planning officer to contact myself. I've had no contact from West Devon Borough Council planning whatsoever. So I'm assuming they'll probably at some stage come back to you in relation to that. In relation to the Whitchurch Down management plan, we actually compile that in consultation with all the stakeholders from Whitchurch Down. So a draft document will be produced. We'll consult with the representatives of the Whitchurch Down. Basically, it's a two-stage process. Then once a draft is done, they will have a look at it. They will feed back, and then at the appropriate Whitchurch Down consultative group meeting, it will be endorsed, and then through council.
That's very clear, and thank you. And I'll keep the general manager in the loop if I do get any response from the West Devon planners.
Right, thank you for that. Any further comments or questions on the Whitchurch Down consultative group? Right, so if we can note that and then move on then please to the Tavistock Bid Company minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of February. Councillor Williamson, I don't know if you, as our representative on the bid board, I don't know if you've got anything you would wish to add to this?
No, unfortunately I wasn't able to attend that meeting. I can't remember why, it's a long time ago. We have been meeting regularly since, and the preparation of bid 3 and what you might call the pitch to levy payers is imminent. it is recognised that the Town Council is a key delivery partner, and this has been said in many forums, that remains pivotal to the success of the bid if we venture into bid 3. Obviously, it's now down to democracy, and I don't know whether we go technically into PERDA about it or not. I'm really quite unsure about that, but there is a democratic process incipient, and there will be a document to support it. It is quite an impressive document, I believe.
Thank you for that. Any comments or questions about this report? Councillor Crawford, please.
Not a question, just a comment really on how hard everyone has worked to actually make the town look as good as it is in coming out of lockdown. And I really, perhaps I shouldn't say anything in terms of if the bid is coming up. I don't know quite what it is. But I think it's just really helped to have that organisation there helping to bring the town to life. And especially those window vinyls, which has shown the young people's artwork. The one opposite the co-op in Market Street is just superb. So I just think there's congratulations all around to everybody for the hard work to make the town as inviting as it is. So long may it continue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Parker, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In item 7, there are 3 elements. The second one is headed rent updates, and there appears to be not a very thinly disguised criticism of the Town Council there. I wonder if we can have any update on that.
Town Clerk, would you like to speak, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. We had a meeting with the bid company, I'm going to guess 2 weeks ago, two and a half weeks ago. So we have had a meeting. We have explained the position, the extent and the extensive support that the Town Council has given to eligible tenants, that we continue to have support measures in place through flexible payment plans and regular communications with tenants, and that short of obviously what would be highly problematic, which would be using council taxpayers' monies to subsidise tenants, but short of that, that we are very open to working with tenants in every way possible we can to support them, and they are aware of that. I think these minutes relate to the 17th of February, so no doubt that will be updated in due course.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Thank you. Right, so can we note those comments, please? And move on then to the West Devon Borough Council report from Councillor Hipsey, which is nice and concise and enclosed in your papers. The only thing I would say is that he's got none of Tavistock is within the national park. There is a small part of Tavistock that's in the national park, both I think at Pittscleave Quarry and over at the sugar mill. I don't know what the technical term for that factory is. Perhaps Councillor Williamson can help me there, but that is in the national park, I think.
It is indeed. It used to be the Tate and Lyle distribution depot, so
yeah.
Known colloquially as the sugar factory.
Okay.
I also believe that part of Middlemore might also be.
Okay, it's just it's got none of it's in with the national park, which isn't quite technically correct. But anyway, I thought it was a useful and informative report, and thanks to Councillor Hipsey for that. So, any comments, Councillor Parker?
Thank you. Yes, on the bottom of the first page, the third item up, many members attended an online Have I Got Planning News for You workshop with the Joint Local Plan team on 30th of March. That seems and sounds to have been a really good event, and I wonder whether we could invite particularly given the what I think are serious misunderstandings between the Joint Local Plan team and let's say the interests of Tavistock, whether they might be prepared to run that same event for the 17 members of Tavistock Town Council.
Thank you. Could we ask the question, Town Clerk?
Of course we can. The only other thing I was going to say is we could add that to because you've previously endorsed having a discussion with West Devon Borough Council in connection with the neighbourhood planning report, or the element of the report earlier on in relation to neighbourhood planning. We could join it in with that, if you like, so that could potentially become a joint sort of discussion forum and Q&A session in relation to this, so that they can sort of double up on that if that's agreeable to colleagues.
Be happy with that, Madam Mayor, but provided that we get the officers from the central JLP team, the ones who wrote the comments recently, I think completely misrepresenting the employment and sustainability strategy of the joint local plan for Tavistock, rather than the West Devon members. It's the ones who are writing the policies. Joanna Lee and Paul, forgot his name now, and their direct officers. But yeah, that sounds like a very helpful suggestion.
We can ask Plymouth City Council if they can make those officers available.
Thank you. Right, so can we now move on, please, to project update, to receive any additional oral update in connection with Tavistock Townscape Heritage Initiative Scheme and the Guildhall Gateway Centre project. Town Clerk, I think.
I don't have any updates, but the General Manager, I don't know whether or not he has anything he wants to add to his General Manager report from earlier, or if he feels that covers everything.
Sorry, I didn't see you.
I've got nothing further to add apart from to say that gas connection has now been done, which was in my report. We're just trying to secure the installation of the gas meter now. And as soon as the gas meter is on, that is a critical path, and everything flows from that in relation to the installation of the 3 floors in the VIC, the learning space, and at the rear of the courtroom, and the lower ground floor redecoration.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Ewing.
I just asked the General Manager, does he know how long it's going to be? Because I've heard of other businesses having to wait months and months for these installations.
The answer is no. We're doing everything we can to push in relation to the public realm itself, in relation to the water connection. We actually signed off on the 3rd of September for that contract. We are now obviously in April, and the challenges in relation to that are because the installers need to liaise with Historic England, because it's against a long scheduled monument grounds. Obviously, we're in the sort of like beneficial position that isn't a detriment to reopening the car park. So we can reopen the car park and complete those works at a later date. In relation to the gas itself, we were advised by Wales and West historically that the existing incoming gas supply was fit for purpose to have an extension. At the point when their specialist engineer came out to do one final check in December, they decided that wasn't practical after all. Therefore, we had to go for a whole new process of trying to get a new line into the Guildhall itself, as in gas supply. Several options were identified. We were promised that the works would be complete by early January. We managed to get a site engineer and QS to come out and cost it up from Wales and West, or from the gas company, during the Christmas breakdown period. We were told that the gas would be connected early January. We chased and chased and chased and chased and got an install date on the 7th of April. In relation to the gas meter itself, we couldn't actually get a gas meter sorted until an MRPN number was released. That number wasn't released from Wales and West Utilities until the previous Friday. So we couldn't even get that ball rolling in relation to the gas meter itself. Now that we've got that number, we've been pushing through, and we've got email correspondence and telephone calls on a daily basis, where we're having to get a new supply set up altogether, or a new contract set up, and we're trying to do it for our brokers. Hopefully it will be within the next week or so, or a couple of weeks. All we can do is keep pushing with SSE, who are the ones which are installing the meter. The actual sort of like go on, Councillor Ewings.
Oh, I was trying to think of what the SSE stood for. I was doing it in my head, sorry. You obviously saw me think.
Southern Electrical Contractors or something like yeah, something like that. Scottish Southern Electrical. So yeah, at the point that we get that, there's about 2 days worth of work in relation to DB heating. They've done all the prep work. All the pipes have been flushed through once, and we've done some works in relation to the BEMS control, as in the heating system itself. So that's, as I said, about 2 days worth of work at the point that the gas meter is installed. And then we can actually, have the heating on for 7 to 10 days, and then get the rest of the critical path works complete. Extremely frustrating. Has had a significant impact on other elements of the programme in relation to interpretation, fit out, the planned reopening, etc., or the planned opening in the Gateway Centre, because, as I said, it's a critical path for all of those other elements. But hopefully we are, the biggest hurdle was actually getting the gas supply or the gas pipe in and fully connected by Wales and West. So we just got to keep applying pressure now with SSE.
Thank you for that. I know of other businesses where it's taking 6, 9 months, 12 months to get things installed, and it's just so slow and frustrating.
Thank you for the full update, General Manager. It's obviously busy times, and obviously quite frustrating in that there are these delays, which you're obviously on top of, but unable to move them along any further than the utility companies are prepared to do them, which is a great disappointment, really. Any further comments or questions about the Tavistock Townsgate Heritage Initiative or the Guildhall Gateway Centre project? Okay, right, thank you. Item G then, to receive any update from or questions to council representatives serving on other outside bodies in connection with the work of those bodies. If I can start, please, with the Kingdom House, the Printworks. We have opened some of our activities. Our manager and the cleaner are now back at work, and it's been very pleasing that the small amount of activities that are happening there have been well received and seem to be going well. So the new toilets are up and running, so that's good news there. So thank you. That's Mrs. Ewing.
Thank you. I was going to talk about Tavistock Community Football Club. Sadly, we're still having the same problems with the vandalism, the alcohol and everything else on our pitches. And huge thanks go to Alan, because he's always down there sorting it out. Unfortunately, we can't always find the bottle tops, and they'll probably be in young children's knees as the season goes on. But we have had some matches down there now, haven't we, Alan? And you're back training with the Tavi Specials. So I have positive, but unfortunately sad news, the same as we're experiencing in the Meadows.
Thank you. Any further updates? Councillor Mrs. Mann.
Just to say that Councillor Crawford and myself have been working to support Tavistock Community Gardening in their work with the General Manager, and they had an event successfully with bid outside, and they're promoting the Blue Heart scheme, which everybody's been talking about, in our rewilding efforts as a council, and that was really well received, and I believe that the General Manager was impressed by the size of our special blue hearts that we're going to hopefully get up in the meadows in the locations so that people can recognise that what we're doing as a council to support rewilding. And obviously they are doing other things with the council. If you haven't seen, there's some works in the town itself where they've been planting up boxes, and there's also some work that's been done at Cellar Gardens, which has been basically completely done and made into something that's really beautiful. So if you haven't had a chance to look this year, I would suggest taking a walk past there.
Thank you. Any further updates? Right, feedback from members following their attendance at any training sessions. Councillor Hutton, Councillor Barry Smith and I attended a social media training session last week, which was very informative. It's good to be able to do those training sessions online, means you don't have to go out for the evening or afternoon or whatever and get them done. So anything else? Councillor Mann?
I went along to that event that I posted about North Devon's work with a community group to install solar panels and batteries at housing estates, essentially housing association estates. I think actually probably the connection there needs to go through the Borough Council, because it's probably someone like Live West that would be able to get the funding that was available to support that project. But it was really neat, and I took down the names and the contact details of the individuals who had helped fund it, which was partly the NEA. I think it would be a really good project because it basically cut down the cost for individuals in social housing greatly for their day-to-day electricity and utility costs, as well as for heating their homes. And I did wonder, because they had some projects that involved only installing the batteries, whether it could be something that could be used with the Bedford cottages effectively, because you wouldn't have to put solar panels on the actual roofs of the buildings. You can just use the batteries on their own, and by doing that they can access lower priced electricity at night time and then store it for use during the day, which was pretty cool. So just seemed like a lot of synergy with what we've been working with our partners with the Community Energy Group here in Tavistock as well.
Thank you. Any further updates? No, then we move on to item 11, to receive such communications or reports as may be submitted by the Town Mayor. I need to advise you that the Deputy Mayor and I carried out the Town Clerk's appraisal on Friday, and which was good to get that done, and it's been diarised for another 6 months for the 6-month review for the new Mayor and the new Deputy Mayor to carry out. Can I thank all members and the whole staff for the immense support that I've received over the last 2 years. This is my last council meeting, and I think I'm quite looking forward to stepping down. It's been fairly intense. It's certainly been consumed a huge amount of time, and I'd like to thank you all very much for your support. So thank you for that. Urgent matters brought forward at the discretion of the Town Mayor. I have none. So then we move into we close this part of the meeting, and then we'll have a 10-minute adjournment. So we should be back at 19:10, and I look forward to seeing you all then.